Hiya, my name's Charlie and welcome to my channel and welcome to my weekly reads. How are you guys? Let me know in the comments below. Have a good old natter with me and tell me about your weeks. Before I get into my nattery stuff, as I always do, I will talk about the books that I've read since the last time I spoke to you, or the books that I have finished. The first few books that I'm going to talk to you about are ones I already mentioned last week, so I'm not going to talk about them too much other than to sort of like summarise my thoughts on the books. So the first book I finished is The God of Good Looks by Breanne McIvor. This was the group book for the Caribathon that I'll link the Caribathon hosts in the description. That was Karen from Run Right Reads and the lovely Peter from Comfy Cozy Up. So yeah. I will also link the live show that they did last weekend. Yeah. So this in this book, this is by a book. Breanne McIvor is a Trinidadian author. In this book, we follow two perspectives. We follow Bianca Bridge, and we follow her diary entries, and then also we follow Obadiah Cortland, who is like her boss slash he's a makeup artist. So basically, the whole thing of this is that Bianca is an aspiring writer, and she wants to work in that industry, and she gets offered a job by Obadiah. So yeah, so basically, and it's sort of like she's obviously got a lot of history to her. Like she's got a past relationship that's happened and that sort of like caused her a lot of drama. She's got a father who is very well known and got a lot of influence. So I think that's why initially, obviously, Obadiah has brought her on. I thought this was an okay kind of book. It wasn't this like, I watched the beginning of the live show for this, and I know that in this book there's loads and loads of like really, really good Caribbean like references, and like obviously with the setting and like the talks about, there's a lot of like stuff in here there about food. So yeah. I know, like, I don't think I got the maximum out of this book, but I know lots of other people have said loads of really positive things. So just don't let that put you off just because of what I'm saying. So yeah, I thought this was a good book, but it wasn't like a favourite. I think there's like a bit of romance in the book as well. So it's sort of a contemporary fiction, you know, and you're following like this girl. Lots of people have said like it's compared to like Bridget Jones, but I think that probably does it a little bit of potentially a disservice, because it has loads more like other things. Not that there's anything wrong with Bridget Jones, I love Bridget Jones' diary, but there's other things in it as well. So but yeah, for me, I liked it, but I didn't love it. It was sort of like a sort of 3-star kind of read to me. If you're doing ratings, obviously that's just me being honest. Also, another one I also finished was The House of Doors by Twan. This is a book that is potentially could be up for the Booker this year. Twan has history with his previous 2 books being longlisted, and also one of them was shortlisted. So yeah, he has a high chance of this book being on, well, the judges would have at least read it or seen it, had it presented to them. And I thought this was a really interesting book. This is a historical fiction, and it's set in Penang, which is a place in Malaysia. Twan is a Malaysian author. In this book, we follow Robert Hamlin, who is a well-to-do lawyer, and his wife Leslie, who is basically a society sort of hostess kind of figure. There's also a sort of mystery element going on, because one of Leslie's friends is accused of a murder. So there's sort of that sort of running along as well. And basically Leslie is sort of telling her story to, this is another sort of like element to it, which is Leslie, the wife, is telling her story to Willie Somerset Maugham. So there's obviously real characters woven into this, because William Somerset Maugham was actually a real person, and actually he wrote many stories, plays and short stories. So he was prolific in his era. And so yeah, it's really, really interesting. And the things I like the most, so I've got some like notes obviously written down here about it. There were queer characters in here as well to be noted. There's like a storyline with that going on as well. It's a beautifully crafted story, and it's really rich in both its character and its setting. So you can really see the skill of Twan, obviously, as I was reading it. So this is my first book by him that I've ever read. And oh yeah, as well, to be noted, I listened to the audiobook of this, which I recommend. I got this from NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley for this, and it was a really good audiobook, really well narrated. Basically this book sort of is about public morality and private truth, and sort of how those things like converge. So obviously there's a lot of betrayal in here, and it talks about like the relationships as well within this book. But there was a quote in here that I'll put on screen, that I thought was really good, because it sort of again characterises this book. This is Leslie talking about William Somerset Maugham. I marvelled at Willie's ingenuity. He had woven it into something that was familiar to me, yet also uncanny. Factual whilst completely fictional. And basically that sort of summarises the book that we're actually reading, because there are so many things in here that are based on real truth and real life, but also there's a lot of many fictionalised elements within these pages as well. So yeah, I just thought it was really brilliant. There's one of Somerset Maugham's famous works is mentioned in here, which is the Casuarina tree. So yeah, that might be like a hint. I've never read that book, but maybe that is like a hint to in terms of the story. I do not know. If you know that, tell me in the comments below. Yeah, so that is one I would 100% recommend. Then I was like, because I had obviously had read some like heavier fiction, I wanted something kind of light. So I headed to Broken Hearts and Zombie Parts by William Hussey. This is an author that he's written many books, but specifically how I'd heard about him was by my lovely friend Charlie. Charlie read Killing Jericho like a few months ago and loved it, and I didn't actually clock that when I had picked this book up, but obviously Charlie reminded me when he'd seen it in my me hauling it. This is a queer YA romance, and in it we follow our lead character, who is Jesse. And he, at the beginning of the book, you find out he needs major heart surgery. And so his two missions before his surgery is he wants to complete his zombie movie, which is Zombie Honeymoon. And he also wants to find a summer boyfriend, or at least get a summer kiss before his surgery. So this is like kind of like what this is about. And I love the friendships within this book. There's like a group of Jesse's friends, which I just adored. This book, I love the humour in it. It really made me laugh. The pacing of it's really good. Yeah, and again, it's another one, even though it's like obviously like a YA kind of romance. I just think you can really see the skill of the writer in it, if that makes any sense. This is like one of the best like of this type that I've read, because there's these hard-hitting things going on with obviously that Jesse's got dealing with and kind of not dealing with in some ways, and using his like movie to sort of like help him distract himself from the surgery that's ahead of him. But yeah, so you've got those themes, but also these really funny characters, these really funny moments, and it's a really wonderful, cute little book. So if you like YA queer romance and YA romance, go and give this a try. It's a cracking little book, and I probably will reread this because it's kind of like one of those comfort reads, I think. Yeah, maybe my children want to see it if you want to, I don't know. Yeah, pick it up. So that is in terms of what I've like read and finished. Then my future reading plans. I have got one that spoilers, I'll show you at my book haul in a minute, but this is one of the books I hauled and also then have begun. This is Outrageous by Paul Baker. During the pod along, there were loads of people that in the pod along that were going to read this book in June, so it kind of like everyone was talking about it during that time. And then also we had Jen the librarian on, whose channel I'll link in the description, and who was just gushing about this book as well. But yeah, so either which way, and I know Charlie was going to read it as well, so I was like, this was one of the ones that when I was on the book crawl at the weekend that I was really like sort of hunting out, and I found it in the Waterstones. So yeah, I've literally only read like 15 pages, so maybe not even that. Yes, I have 15 pages. So yeah, this will be one I sort of like read bits and bobs over. I may gulp through it as well, I don't know. But yeah, I'm so excited to read it. And so also in terms of my current audiobook, I've also got Small Joys by Elvin James Mensah, and this book is classed as a contemporary literary queer fiction. I think that's what it's described as. And we meet Harley at the beginning of the book, who is struggling with their mental health. This has content warnings for suicide, so just beware of that going in, and like talks of that kind of thing. So Harley is struggling with depression, and he's in the woods at the beginning. This is all on the blurb, so I'm not spoiling anything. And when he meets, so he's in the woods with potentially dark things on his mind, and he stumbles across a character. Like when he's in the woods, he meets a character called Muddy, Muddy is a bird watcher. I think he plays rugby, he's Mancunian, he loves Oasis. So these two characters meet, and yeah, and then sort of I think that sort of the story goes from there. Muddy, as you can tell, is such a character. Like, I've only listened to a very small amount of this book, but straight away Muddy's character is established, and he's just hilarious. Really, really, really think he could be, like, already, he's like one of those characters you think, he could be one of my favourite characters, like, already. Like, just is that kind of like well-drawn thing, and because he's so funny as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of this audiobook. I'll also put the narrator on screen. And then also, in terms of my next reading plan, I'm planning on picking up The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. This book is on Scribd. It's a 31-hour audiobook, and I did start to try and listen to this because I thought with a big book it's probably potentially better to listen to the audiobook, because maybe I'll find that easier going, obviously, because apart from anything else it's very physically heavy to hold. Abraham himself narrates the audiobook, but for whatever reason I just couldn't click with his narration. So yeah, maybe if you are wanting to head to this as an audiobook, sample it first. You can do that always with audiobooks. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up. It's written in 10 sections, so I'm going to break it up into 10 sections and tab it out and then read it over 10 days. And then obviously this has got a request on it, so I need to take it back to the library ASAP. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, those are all the books that I've got to. Now what I'll do is I'm going to get into the natty part. So thank you for all your lovely comments on my last video. All you guys are just the best. You know, like, honestly, I'm just so grateful for you guys, obviously. In terms of my last week, obviously, hopefully you guys would have seen I've got a vlog up. If I have got the vlog edited and already up, I will link that in the description. If not, hopefully it'll be out next week. It's just, I've obviously filmed a lot of footage, more than I actually imagined, so I'm hoping it's not too long. I'm sorry if it is. So yeah, the actual day, I literally went out with so for those of you that don't know, last weekend I went out with my lovely friend Claire, and we went to Oxford for the day, and we went on a bookshop crawl, which it was a really, really fun day. And we left the house about 8, and we didn't get home till just like after 8, so like, yeah, it was a long day and my feet were killing me by the end of it. But yeah, we just had the best day, and the weather was gorgeous. We managed to get to all 13 bookshops that was on the list by close, and we didn't like superly rush, and some of them are spaced apart, FYI, if you do it yourself. Yeah, just the best time, and it was just, we laughed so much. It was just honestly, so yeah, best day. I love my friend Claire, obviously. So I'll show you all the books I got for that in a minute. Also, in terms of the week ahead of me, this Friday is my eldest's prom, which is such a big moment. It's a big thing, like when you've done your GCSEs and it's all done. So yeah, very, very proud of them, and the prom outfit, I know that they're just going to look gorgeous in. So yeah, that's such a big thing. So I love, obviously, big heart. And then me and my husband are hoping to have some time together, and he's going to have some holiday, so we're hoping to go out at the end of the week. Obviously, as you watch this has already happened. I'm not sure what we're going to do for the day, because we haven't exactly 100% put plans in place, but yeah, I'm sure we're going to have hopefully a lovely day. So that's going to be happening as well. Now I'm going to show you the book haul. So, and then I've also got like some other little little bits, one of which you're actually sat on. I've just noticed. I can't believe I did not notice that, but I'll tell you about that in a second. So yeah, I picked up on the book crawl, even though we went to 13 bookshops, and I tried to pick up like a little something from each of the bookshops. I think actually there was a few bookshops that potentially I didn't do that. A couple of them, I don't know, I can't remember. The first book I picked up was from Daunt Books, and that was Small Worlds by Caleb Azumah Nelson. You guys, if you guys would have know, this was like, I read this book fairly recently and I just adored it. So much so, because I got it out from the library, so much so I wanted my own copy. And look, I've got one with green sprayed edges. So it's just gorgeous. So, and it's signed, look, see? Yeah. So yeah, this can be on my shelves and I can go back and reread it again and again in the summer, because this is just a gorgeous summer read. And if you haven't got to it yet, yes, I'm hugging the book, I'm sorry. If you haven't read this yet, please, and you just check it out. Yeah, so yeah, gorgeous. So please, I've got this in my collection. Also, I think this was also in Daunt Books that I picked this up, was Alice Austen Lived Here by Alex Gino. And Alex Gino, I believe, is a non-binary author, and I think this is like a middle grade book. So it's Sam is not, I'll read you the blurb quick. Sam is non-binary, and they know that history is not just made up of dead, straight, cisgender white men, but try telling their teacher, Mr. Watchers, that. When Mr. Watchers asks the class to come up with a worthy historical subject for the local competition to erect a new statue in Staten Island, Sam thinks it'll be the worst project ever, until they find the perfect subject, photographer Alice Austen, an inspiration for queer kids everywhere. And soon Sam's project isn't just about winning the contest, it's about discovering the rich queer history that no longer needs to be quiet, as long as there are people like Sam to stand up for it. So yeah, that sounds amazing. It's very, very short. It's less than 200 pages. I think it's like 150 pages. Yeah, I can't wait to get to this one. So that is that. Love me some middle grade books. Then I also picked up Queer Life and Queer Love, which is a second anthology, I believe, and it's celebrating original queer writing from around the world with 44 stories, essays and flash fiction with and by new and established authors. So I just like, I mean, the cover is gorgeous. Obviously I was like instantly like drawn to it, and as it's sort of essays as well as like stories and things, I feel like this is one, I'm not, as you guys know, I'm not really the best with short stories, but as it's got a mixture of all of those elements, the poetry, the essays and the stories, I feel like this is one that I can, again, dip in and out of and hopefully actually finish. So yeah, that's that one. This is one that I picked up in a beautiful little bookshop, and it was really, it was one of the beautiful ones. It was opposite where we ate our lunch. So we went for a pub lunch, and opposite it was Arcadia. That's it, Arcadia. And this is one, they wrap their books in these like, they have like second-hand books. All of the books in this bookshop are second-hand, and they're mostly all wrapped in the cellophane to keep them obviously clean. Yeah, it's Muriel Spark, The Girls of Slender Means. So yeah, so set in 1945, a world at war, a winding up with a bang, lightly, delightfully, wittily, Muriel Spark sets us down amongst the girls for a good family but slender means, as they fight it out from their Kensington hostel to the last clothing coupon. So yeah, that is that. This was one that I picked up in, I think it was either the last bookshop or I think it was the sister bookshop of the last bookshop, which was Bookstop, I think. So yeah, I saw this and it was really reasonably priced. Can you see it was £4, which I think I wanted this ages, quite a while ago. I saw this was one that had been spoken a little bit about on BookTube, and this is a memoir, I believe. This is Mira Jacobs' memoir, and it's, can you see on the title, it says, like many 6-year-olds, Mira Jacobs' Jewish Indian American son, Zed, has questions about everything, and as racial tension spreads from the media into his own family, they become much more complicated. Trying to answer him honestly, Mira has to think back to where she found her own answers. So in turn, laugh out loud, heartbreaking, Good Talk is a nuanced and profound look at identity, belonging, and the love that keeps an imperfect world afloat. So yeah, it's a memoir, but it's a graphic memoir, and there's sort of these images whilst the text, so can you see, which you don't get that many sort of graphic memoirs. But yeah, and for that price I could not pick it up. Then I think this is one I got from one of the Blackwells that we went to. Again, there was 2 Blackwells we went to, and I think there was 2 Waterstones on our book shopping list. And I spotted Neon Roses. Now, Neon Roses is one that I heard about from Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and I will link the video that he talked about it. I believe this was one of his Booker predictions, potentially, or Booker wish list. It's either Booker wish list kind of, or Booker predictions, I can't quite remember. But one of those videos, and this could, again, I know this could be eligible for the Women's Prize, and I believe that Scott said that he thought it's more, he thinks it, whilst he put it on one of the wishes or things, I think he thinks this could be more on for the Women's Prize than the book up. Either which way, on the front, as you can see, it says think straight but be gay. Yes, I'm homosexual. Gay is what we make, and it's basically, so this is obviously queer, and I think it's set in the 1980s. It says it's 1984 in South Wales. The miners' strike is ravaging her community. Her sister's spawned off with Thatcherite policemen, and her boyfriend Lloyd's keeps bringing up marriage. And they play 99 Red Balloons on the radio one more time. If they play 99 Red Balloons on the radio one more time, she might just lose her mind. Then the fundraising group Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners come down from London, and she meets June, a snaggled-toothed blonde in a too big leather jacket. Suddenly, a loon isn't struck anymore. She's in freefall. June's an artist and an activist living in a squat in Camden with June. A loon can imagine a completely different life for herself, but as her family struggles with the strike and her relationship with her sister deteriorates, should she really leave it all behind? So it says it's Neon Roses is a heartwarming, funny, and a little bit filthy, queer coming of age story with a cracking 80s soundtrack. So that, obviously, it sells it. Like, I wrote just immediately when I heard Scott talking about this, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. So many of my buzzwords that I just was like, this sounds amazing. So yeah, I cannot wait to read this. In fact, this is like high for my DBR potentially, if I can get through all my other books, obviously. But yeah, I really want to read this. And it's such a gorgeous cover. Like, seriously. And then lastly, but not leastly, another book I picked up. This was one I picked up in Gulp Fiction. I'll put the picture of the shop on screen. I didn't actually take a picture myself, so it will be one from their Instagram, because I took pictures of every single bookshop except for Gulp Fiction. And in Gulp Fiction, interestingly enough, one of the things that I loved was, so they have their fiction, and it's also a cafe. So there's like down the centre as you come in, on one side is one, like the hardback, which I think it says is, if you buy books from here, they have signs up that say, if you buy books from this bit, you can get a free glass of wine with your book. Or if you buy books, and there's like other like piles of books down the other side of you to my right, and it said like, if you buy this book, you get a free coffee. If you buy this book, you get a free hot drink, etc, etc. Which I thought was just genius, and I just thought it was really clever idea. And it's obviously, it's a lovely bookshop. Gulp Fiction was a lovely bookshop. So yeah, I saw this in one of the piles, and it's When I Sing Mountains Dance by Irene, Sola, and I think this is translated from the Catalan. I think it says it's, sorry blurbs, high in the mountains, Dominic is struck by lightning while out foraging. He and his family, his wife Sio and their children Mia and Hilary, grow up on the wild, hulking summits of the Pyrenees, but the land is not theirs. It belongs to those who have long called the mountain their home. Chanterelle mushrooms, roe deer, and the ghosts of Spain's civil war, and the clouds that top these perilous climbs. As the years tumble by after Dominic's death, these inhabitants come together to bear witness to the tragedies that befall the family he leaves behind. A fiercely imaginative, elemental story of love and loss. in this time and in all time, when I sing mountains dances a giddy paean into the land and all its own interconnectedness. Yeah, so it's very short, less than 200 pages, and I cannot wait to read it. So that is that. I also picked up, so the thing that you're sat on is actually one of the things that I picked up, which is The World of Jane Austen, a puzzle. So I'll put the picture of the puzzle on screen. And this was something, again, that was kind of on my wish list to look out for, because I wanted, me and my eldest have been doing puzzles, as I said about last week's video, so that was one I was kind of looking out for when I went book shopping. I also did the obligatory get some bookmarks and stuff, so I've got, this was obviously a free one. There's a few free ones I got, which I haven't got all of them with me. Some of them are probably threaded into the books, I'm sorry. This is the Bill and Ben books, which is, I think this is from the last bookshop and bookstop, I think. So this is from that chain. Yeah, it says on it. We now have 2 shops in Oxford, the bookstop and the last bookshop. So yeah, and it has a bit about the owners on it, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's that one. That was a free one. This is one I picked up in the Bodleian Libraries. Actually, the puzzle I picked up in the Bodleian Libraries one. Yeah, it says Hijinks Bookshelf. So yeah, this was just really cute, and I always love bookmarks with books on them. And then obviously this is like, I think this is like the Bodleian kind of like library stampy thing. So I picked up that too. And then I picked up this little tiny sign that I'm going to put on one of my bookshelves, and it says, so I'll take a picture of it and put it on screen so you can see it clearer. It's cute, and I'm happy that I've got it. So that is everything. Yeah, so so there you go. Thank you for watching. Take care. Make sure you put loads of comments in the comments below if you've read any of these books, if you're currently reading, what you really want to read. Are there any books that you're planning on hauling, planning on getting? Let me know. Have a good old natter in the comments below with all of that stuff. And take care, and send you guys lots of love. Goodbye.